You're listening to Crystal and Emily on Love Your Shelf, the best librarian podcast in the extensive and highly competitive field of librarian podcasts. Hello.
Hi.
Well, back again, and this time it's only been a week.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like we should pat ourselves on the back for that.
Has it only been a week?
It's been a long week.
It has been a long week.
Yeah, it's been a little bit crazy. We had Dia de los Muertos last week, and then we've got Escape Room this week. You had a small, tiny little event
gathering
that, that personally you had to deal with. And so, but now we're kind of getting back, I think, hopefully into regular routine.
Yes.
And we can talk about some books.
Let's do it.
All right. So, Mary Roach, I'm sure I have mentioned her before.
Uh-huh.
She is she's probably one of my favorite nonfiction writers.
Uh-huh.
And she's one of those who does finds a topic and then just does a deep dive, and you don't know, it seems like she doesn't necessarily know what she's going to uncover in that.
Oh, that's cool.
And so the newest book that she's written is called Fuzz, When Nature Breaks the Law. And so it's about human-wildlife contact and conflict, and how ultimately it's about how humans create these problems, and then how they have to be the ones that also fix it, and hopefully.
Darn it.
Yeah. Hoist by your own petard all the time. But yeah, so it's even though it's about nature, about wildlife, it's obviously about humanity and because what isn't?
I was about to say, it all comes back around.
Yeah. She's also written the books Stiff, which is about corpses.
I was like, hey, what's it about?
Yeah, it's about
wooden
dead,
boards or
yeah, exactly. Light as a feather. And Gulp, which is about the digestive system, and Spook, which is about the afterlife.
I love this series of titles so much.
And Bonk, which you can gather what that's probably about.
Hitting your head.
But I would highly recommend anything that she has written. It's funny because it's just, obviously you can tell what her sense of humor is just from the titles.
Yes.
But it's also extremely smart and fascinating reading. So,
nice.
Yeah. And then I came across, and I had it on a list, and I cannot remember where I came up with it or why, whatever, but the book came in to the library the other day, and it was on hold for me, so I said, well, I must have wanted this. And it's called The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki. And she's also written My Year of Meats, and A Tale for the Time Being, and All Over Creation.
All good titles, too.
Yeah, My Year of Meats,
I really want to dive into that.
Exactly. And so this is a novel about a young boy, teenage boy, who suffers the death of his father, and then he begins hearing voices coming from inanimate objects. And so it's a little, fantasy, that kind of tinge, but so he's these inanimate things are speaking to him, but maybe not necessarily in a way that it's not in words necessarily, but like emotions, and some are peaceful and calm, and some are angry, and
they all have their own sort of personalities.
Yes.
It's not like a person speaking to him,
right?
through
It's
the
not
chair
like
or whatever.
Yeah, it's not like the teacup or whatever from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
It's like so he doesn't necessarily understand all of this, but it just gets worse and worse until he his mother develops a hoarding problem, which you can imagine would then make an unbearable problem for him.
Oh my goodness.
So then he ends up in the public library.
Oh my
goodness.
Course.
And meeting these other people who have these sort of fascinating lives.
Oh, okay.
I am hoping to finish that during my week off next week.
Yes.
But so far, highly recommend it.
Cool.
And then another one that I have also mentioned before probably, is Lisa Lutz, and she wrote a series called The Spellman Files, or it's about the Spellmans, which is this family of detectives, and it's odd, but it's very good, and there's a bunch of them in the series. Cool. And then she's written some others that are standalones. In fact, one of them I pulled for our encounter box. So we have these encounter boxes that people can sign up for, and then they get sort of library-related things, plus we pick out a book for them to read. And so one of those was The Passenger this week, and I picked it up for somebody. And then she also wrote How to Start a Fire, and that's about college students, and then how these friends that then grow up together and mysterious things happen. Ooh. And then The Swallows is another one. It's about a prep school that kind of gets caught up in gender controversy, and a teacher gets kind of put in the middle of it and has to, and somebody dies, as always. And so it's actually touching, and it's there's silliness or there's oddball stuff to it, and it's kind of over the top, but it still raises a lot of questions about the gender norms and that kind of thing. So Lisa Lutz, she writes like widely all different kinds of topics, and I really like her a lot.
Love it.
And then another one, and this one is one that had come to my attention a few years ago, but I never read it, and now it's on the list for the NEA Big Read selections. It's called There, There by Tommy Orange, and it's about multiple different characters who are all going to this big regional powwow. And so one of them is a younger boy who's going to dance in the powwow for the first time, and then and other people who are all going to come together at this one place. And it's about Native American culture, contemporary Native American culture, and how that plays out, and how how these people are navigating the issues. So it's been called an instant classic. And so so it's definitely one of those that there's not that many Native American voices out there. So if you're interested in that,
I think that's
I would highly, and even if you're not, check it out, because there's a lot.
There maybe then you'll be interested.
So those are the book recommendations I have for this week.
Lovely.
And then I have just a couple of others, and then I want to talk about some adaptations.
Excellent.
Because I love that adaptation. Apparently everybody does, because there are so many, it's ridiculous. But before that, I saw, and I'd never heard of it before, but somehow it came across my streaming service. It's on HBO, and it's David Lynch, The Art Life. And it's a documentary about him. And he is interesting.
I was going to say, what are you about to say? I was about to say weird.
So he's talking about his childhood growing up, and of course, since it's David Lynch, there were these odd moments that somehow stayed with him, and that it reminds me, it kind of reminds me of me and my sister, how we remember these, and we've talked about this before, we remember these odd moments, these things that happened to us as kids that we didn't interrogate at the time. Didn't ask our parents about, like, what is this really about? But then it becomes this kind of, I wouldn't go so far as maybe formative, but it's something that sticks with you.
That you refer back to. Yeah.
And it all kind of relates to the uncanny and storytelling, and it's all this, recently we were telling a story about something that was bizarre that happened when we were kids that was never explained. And we have a friend who was like, yeah, that's easily explainable. We're like, well, sure. But that's not what we're trying to do.
Yes, exactly.
We're trying to capture that feeling that you have as a kid when you're trying to figure out
understand
meaning of
yes,
stuff.
Yes.
And, what's weird and what's normal and what's,
right.
Is this something that really happened?
Yeah.
And, So I enjoyed it on that level
yes.
for sure. So, he remembers one night he's out and a naked woman walks up to him and his brother and he says, and I don't remember any more than that. and I was just like, okay.
Well, and that would kill me if I couldn't understand or if I couldn't remember anything.
Right, exactly. That would be something that you
happening.
And if you are an aficionado or if you've ever even seen one David Lynch movie, you know that there's tons of moments like that. Where I know one of the ones that stuck with me was watching Twin Peaks, when I was a teenager, I guess. And the evil character in the show, there's a cut scene where it cuts to him and he's pretty crazy looking, and he's crouched down behind the couch in the living room.
You've told me about this part, and I can't remember. I've seen it, but I can't remember.
It's not very long, but for whatever reason, that notion of somebody that's just not even really trying to hide, but just crouched down behind your couch and you look over and there they are.
No, so unsettling. I don't like it.
Right. But then nothing particularly comes of that.
Yeah.
And you don't know if it's real or imagined by the character.
Yes. Or, alluding to something or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, basically the documentary is about his profoundly middle-class life. He said for years, his world was like a 2-block radius. And, they didn't travel. They weren't doing, anything else. Just super, you had to focus on your interior life because there's nothing out there
and I was going to say, with a mind like his, I'm sure that was torturous. you know? I mean, he just seems like such a curious, strange person. He's still alive, right? Yes. He's in this. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. He's talking about it. He's narrating it. And so I think that especially it's such a different his growing up compared to kids now. Mm-hmm. It's night and day because he had this very small world, and there's very little television, no internet, no nothing like that. Yeah. And so he's talking about he goes out in the neighborhood and creates his universe, basically. Yeah. And so it's a good cool. documentary. I really enjoyed it. And then Art 21 is a documentary series, and I think now it's from PBS. Okay. But you can stream it other places, I'm pretty sure. And each episode in Art 21, and there's usually, I think, in each season, there's maybe 10, something like that, is about a different contemporary artist. Cool. And so I definitely recommend that if people are interested in contemporary art around the world. So they have, it's very broad, from China to Germany to the United States, just all over.
That's great.
And then we can come to adaptations. One of my favorite things, like I said. I don't remember why I came across it, but A History of Violence is a graphic novel that was made into a film in 2005. Yeah. With Viggo Mortensen. It's by director David Cronenberg. Maybe I was thinking about directors that I like since I was talking about David Lynch, but David Cronenberg is another fantastic director, but a lot of his work might be off-putting to people because there is violence, and he uses a lot of body horror. So your body doing things. Yeah. It's like he did The Fly and stuff like that. Okay. Yeah. So maybe not what you would really enjoy.
I loved the 80s as a kid on VH1 or something, and they were talking about The Fly, and just from the glimpses into the movie that I got from that segment, I was like, I will never watch The Fly ever. Right. And I still stand by that.
Don't need that in your life. Yeah, no, it's disturbing.
Yeah. Okay.
But I like him. He's
Yeah.
an acquired taste, maybe.
Well, that's interesting that he did History of Violence, too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had no idea. I've not seen it, but I remember when it came out and was, Oscar buzz and all that.
Yeah, no, it is a really great movie. Ed Harris is in it. Viggo Mortensen is the main character. Maria Bello plays his wife. And basically, it's an adaptation. And I'm not one of those that's like, the book is always better than the movie or what, whatever. It varies.
Sure.
And they're just so different in a lot of ways.
Yes, that's my thing, is I have a hard time comparing them a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, and then the ones I'm going to talk about today are all graphic novels.
Cool.
So, and a graphic novel in many ways kind of mimics visual, video or film, format, because it's kind of like shots.
Right.
But you don't have the time and movement element, obviously. And what, in History of Violence, the opening shot is like one long uninterrupted take. Mm-hmm. And it's a car that pulls into this like roadside motel, and these guys, they get out and it tracks along with them, and they go into the office. Mm-hmm. And then it like goes up to the desk and then goes around, and you see that there's a body, and it is just, it's masterfully done. And it really, I think, bested the graphic novel in a lot of ways, because it just completely different perspective on how to introduce these characters.
Cool.
And so I love that, even though, yes, it's definitely, violence is in the title.
Yeah.
So take that for what you will.
Right.
And another one from kind of that same era, I think is 2001, is Ghost World.
Uh-huh.
And it's Thora Birch and Scarlett Johansson before she was Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. I love Ghost World.
Yes.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but...
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it in a long time until I was thinking about these for today. But it's based on a graphic novel by Daniel Clowes, and really quirky, funny movie. And I don't know, I feel like you don't see that kind of thing anymore.
Because you said it came out in 2001?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
20 years ago.
Wow.
I know.
Well, and it feels, like, thinking back, like, it feels very... Because I got into it in, I don't know, college. Mm-hmm. So, 2009 or 10, 8, 9, 10. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like it felt very of that time, which wasn't that much longer before.
Right.
But I don't know, just, like, it's very hipster.
Yes.
And
yeah, it's about these two high school age girls, or they're, I guess, about to go into college.
Yeah.
And just sort of how they're friends, but then they're sort of testing the boundaries of their identity, and
they're totally like, they roll their eyes at everything mainstream. I mean, they're just, and yeah.
But it reminded me of how much I enjoyed those, and it's an example of where the History of Violence takes. It's a pretty kind of gritty graphic novel that's like drawn in a realistic style, and then it's kind of that same feeling. Mm-hmm. In Ghost World, it's like poppy and colorful and
that's what I
kind of bubbly looking, and the film is also like that too.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting how they match sort of the tone or the vibe or whatever. Yeah. And then some honorable mentions of other graphic novels that have been like maybe more recent ones. Umbrella Academy is a series that I had not read the graphic novel. I mean, I was aware of it, but I hadn't read it beforehand. But the series is good. Yeah,
and I think we talked about how, like, I don't know, season 1 I sort of watched just because I was like, well, I guess I'm intrigued. But season 2, I don't know, definitely it sort of matured and...
It did. I think if they really found their pace in season 2.
So I'm excited for the next season now.
Yeah. Hopefully it's...
I hope.
Soon.
I know. I feel like it's been a while.
Yeah. I think it was like 2 years ago that the first series, the first season came out.
Anyway.
But yeah.
Good
and
one.
then that one is like a sort of take on superhero type thing. So it's not realistic.
No, not at all. I love a story that's like, what's their power gonna be? You know, like when you have a bunch of kids with strange powers or whatever.
Yeah.
Weirdly, that is kind of a genre.
Yeah, it is.
But
which then brings us to The Boys, which is another graphic novel.
Yes, exactly.
Turned series.
That's same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Woo, that series.
That was rough.
It's talk about history of violence.
Yeah. It's cartoonish, almost, the violence in that.
Yeah, it's cartoonish, but like
but
live
realistic.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're next door to a shot clinic today. And so if you hear screaming in the background, please don't be worried.
It's nothing to do with us.
Nothing to do. Yeah, I know we're talking a lot about violence, but there's no serious violence being done to children in the next room.
Oh my gosh, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. I'm surprised that was the first one that we heard. And if you didn't hear that, just ignore what we're saying.
Yeah.
Right now. And then Watchmen is another.
Yes, okay, I wondered if you'd bring that one up.
Super, super famous graphic novel, and then made into a film that was. I like that we both make a squeaking noise.
Kind of harmonized.
Yeah.
But agreed. Like, I watched the TV series, series that came out.
Yes.
So good.
Very, very good.
Very good. But I was all excited and was like, I'm going to go back and watch the movie. I saw it when it first came out, but maybe I don't remember it correctly. But no, it's like not good.
No. And that was, 2009 is when that movie came out. And then the series is, hopefully they're going to have another season of that.
I loved that series.
And then, let's see, another one that I've talked about before is Snowpiercer. That was a graphic novel, then a movie, and then recently a series there. And I can see why they're exploring that because it's such a unique take, like a unique story. It's basically about, like, the Earth is frozen, and this insane billionaire creates this train that's kind of impervious, and it just, if it stops, it will freeze.
Yep.
Because it's so cold outside. So that's constantly in motion, and it's, I don't know how many, like 100 cars long and very elaborate, like huge things. But in the back is the people that stowed away on it. Yes. Because it was for just the rich and wealthy.
Because it goes like in order, right? Sort of by class, right? The rich are at the front. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then, there's a middle class in there, and then there's the people who are serving, and then there's the people who are just
got on there.
Just got on at the back. And so, I can see, why
definitely
that continues to be explored.
A lot there.
Yeah, because it's, very critical of contemporary society. Then there are some that are a little bit older, like 300 was a graphic novel, and every guy I know has seen that movie, loves that movie. maybe not universally everybody, but that's a. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
I remember seeing it in theaters. I was in high school, like a senior or something, and I remember seeing it in theaters and just being very like my mind was wandering. I mean, it wasn't like a bad movie. It just wasn't for me.
Yes. I mean, it has a certain sheen about it that I think comes from it, the format of the graphic novel being how it, where the story comes from.
Yes.
So it has like a look, like a color scheme and everything that's not realistic, but it kind of sets it apart. And then going back to some early stuff, like from the 90s, The Crow. Can I tell you that The Crow was one of those that, I mean, I was a teenage girl when it came out, and I don't know how many times we watched that movie. Every time we would go, to our friend's house, somebody was putting on The Crow.
Yeah.
I mean,
somebody was putting on The Crow. It sounds like that would also be a saying of some sort.
Exactly.
I don't know what it means. Putting on the crow.
We'll have to come up with what that is.
Oh, yeah, next week. I've never
Black
seen
lipstick.
it. Putting on the crow. But I've never seen it.
What?
I know.
Oh, you gotta see it.
Yeah.
So Bruce Lee's son plays the main character, and it's kind of a hokey film. Like, I'm not gonna say that it's
That doesn't turn
classic.
me off.
Yeah. It's got a great soundtrack. I mean, it's very, very 90s.
Love it.
Soundtrack, and I would listen to the soundtrack as much. I've probably listened to that more times than I've watched the movie, which is saying something. And then he tragically was killed right after that.
No, really?
Yeah, he was one, and this has been in the news recently, but he was shot by a gun that was supposed to have blanks in it.
No.
On a film set. Yes.
Really?
And he was in his 20s.
That's awful.
And of course, Bruce Lee, his dad died at a very young age too, so it's all very sad. But, boy, do we have a crush on Brandon Lee back in the day. And the fact that he's like brooding over his murdered girlfriend the whole time, it was just, angst.
Yeah, let me make you feel better.
Exactly. Angst to the max.
Yep.
And then kind of on the other side of that is Tank Girl.
I don't know Tank Girl.
Oh my gosh. It was based on a really funky graphic novel, and she's kind of this post-apocalyptic chick who, this is the only way I could describe it, who's like, half of her head is shaved, and she drives a tank.
I was going to say, where's the tank coming?
Exactly. And, she's just, like, hardcore.
I love the idea of her being like, I'm Tank Girl. Like,
that's almost exactly how she talks. And it's like you just jumped right in there and then lived it.
I'm an actor, so...
But she always has, like, little one-liners that she's spouting off.
I love it.
You should watch it.
I really want to.
Lori Petty played the main character, and
Lori Petty as Tank Girl.
Yeah, and I want to say she carries around a bat that she hits people with.
Oh, love it.
Something like that.
So
some kind of big thing.
Yeah.
And she's just a little thing, but she's learned how to take care of herself in this post-apocalyptic.
I'm sold.
Yeah. You'll like it. And then Ghost in the Shell, which has also been something that people have talked about recently because of Scarlett Johansson. Funnily enough,
I don't know this.
Yeah, it was based on the graphic novel, but then it was turned into a anime series back in the late 90s.
Okay.
And it's also very like futuristic and I don't know, evocative, and it was like a cult kind of thing back then. But anyway, all of those are all really, I would highly recommend looking at both the graphic novels and the film adaptations or the series adaptations. And it's funny that as I was looking at these and thinking about how almost all of these, if it was both a movie and a series, the series has outdone the film.
Well,
in all of these ones, at least the ones that I've mentioned. Now, I'm not saying that always happens, but I think that series, and we've talked about this before too, that now series are kind of experiencing like this golden era of since with streaming services, how it's worked for whatever reason that they're just really, really high quality right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
And that movies, like I taught film.
Yeah.
But now I'm hard pressed to like sit and watch a movie, even though I will watch a whole series in a weekend.
I know.
And I think that it's part of it. Like, I think I'm kind of into the feeling of a limited series or series.
Yeah, I am too. I'm definitely the same way. Well, and I feel like a lot of times the problem once you walk away from a movie that's been adapted is like, okay, well they left out so much.
Yeah.
And they had to.
Right.
And
because they have an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly. But with a series, like, there's lots of room to,
Sometimes that can be a bad thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It has to be well done, but I do think that, like, I mean, that helps.
Yes. And one of the things that I also was thinking about when I was, thinking about this was when Netflix first started, and that you could, like, get entire series, like, on DVD sent to your home.
Yeah.
It was still paced for television, and it would have, like, the commercial breaks.
Right.
And all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
That then started to look and feel very silly.
Yes.
And then, of course, after it looked and felt very silly, then it was annoying.
Yes.
That you had all of this, like, build up looking directly at the camera and then, cutting back or whatever.
Cutting back and then sort of explaining what just happened real quick and then getting back to it. Yeah.
Yes. And now, of course, you don't have that.
No, right.
And it's so much better. So, I don't know. I think that that has definitely colored series work now.
Totally.
It's like a whole new genre, basically.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so I think that's all of the things that I felt like covering this week.
I love it.
And lots of good recommendations. Hopefully everybody enjoys the encounter box selections that we picked out this time. And if not,
sorry.
But
let us know. We can always, improve.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's one of the more fun things that we get to do is like take a couple of tiny bits of information about somebody.
Like, maybe we'll get it right.
Yeah. Or maybe we just are giving you the same things.
Yeah, I know. I've had that thought. Like, okay, have I given this person this exact book before?
Yeah. Yeah. Because like some people we do hear from and they say, "Oh yeah, I really liked that."
Yeah.
But a lot of them we don't ever hear.
We don't hear
back.
either way. Right.
Right. So.
Anyway,
cross our fingers.
Well, I'm gonna go watch Tank Girl.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, for sure. You got to watch that. And what else? Oh, The Crow.
Oh, that's right.
Both of those. You'll go.
Have a 90s weekend.
I was gonna say it's probably even like 94, 95 or something like that.
Love it.
They're both in the same era. All right. Well, everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you back here.
Yep.
I say that every time.
Well,
every single time.
You'll be hearing us back here.
There you go. Thank you. I should not try to end these. I should let you do it.
If I just spoke out loud, that's what would come out. Trust me.
You're not speaking out loud.
I'm not speaking out loud. I'm like taking it in and going, hey, wait.
Yeah, I'm going to let her sound like an idiot first. Okay, so I'll let you.
Too bad I already sound like an idiot a lot. So, just kidding. You'll hear us next week.
There you go.
And have a good weekend.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.